Welcome to the Candy Shop Show. It's July 20th, 2016, and here's Candy. I'm back home from my major road trip through the east of the USA and broadcasting from the Ozarks again. We've got a great show planned for you. Mark Sorensen is returning with his new friend Hidegarde from Canada, and with all the galactic friends, the Arcturians and others. And so we look forward to hearing more from them. And I'm going to be sharing some current events through the candy jar treat. So let's open the jar and see what we've got. My goodness, of course, people are anxious to kind of see what is happening politically with the Republican convention now happening in Cleveland, Ohio, the amazing policy speech that Donald Trump Jr. gave, and all the other speakers. Of course, tonight Ted Cruz will be speaking, and last night they definitely did vote. So despite all the cabal's publicity and efforts to cause chaos, to cause martial law, for false flags happening here and in France and Turkey, it's been quite an amazing July, but nothing that needs to declare any kind of martial law and chaos, as the cabal wanted to call this the summer of chaos. I had a wonderful vacation. Glad I didn't let their warnings interfere with my trip, and it was wonderful. I just really appreciate all my hosts in Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio. It was just wonderful that everybody greeted me so warmly, friends and family, and as folks heard here last week, Boris Gonzalez Starseed was our guest speaker, and it was wonderful to meet him in person. I've never met Christopher Stephen Jacobs, so that was great that I could meet Boris in person and share those things. Now, a lot of people have been talking about current events and about the things that Benjamin Fulford is reporting. Of course, he was born into a cabal family, and he ran away, and he became a journalist. He learned Japanese, and he's been a journalist for the Forbes magazine on economic policies in Japan. And on July 4th, a little quick review, he said that White Dragon Society, the good guys, gave a warning to the cabal that they've got to stop, and they gave the date. The deadline would be July 10th, and he was really happy that the Japanese government and the government of the UK, the Vatican, the Russians, most Islamic countries, Africa, and a lot of the U.S. agencies are all joining together to defeat this evil in this world. And he says they're not so secret anymore. You know, the Borgia family, the Warburgs, the Rockefellers, Victor Emmanuel, the Rothschilds, and many others that he reviewed. And he said that if they would not agree to stop this social engineering and their evil plans, that there was going to be released some cards with leaders of the cabal and rewards posted for their arrest. Well, after they failed to cooperate, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, these cards indeed were issued on July 11th. Now, I hope you all will go in and go to YouTube and listen to these tapes, but I want to continue and say that on July 11th, Fulford reported again that there's a lot of investigations in Israel of their leader and his money laundering, so he might be coming down soon. The State Department is so angry that there was no prosecution of Hillary that they are starting to reopen the email scandal themselves, since the FBI and the Attorney General won't do it. And there's even some talk about Kill Bill and about a state funeral for him and how things could be changed if he was out of the picture. Of course, Fulford's reminding us again that he is the son of Governor Winford Rockefeller. He is one of the Rockefellers, and this is why he's been pushed forward. And, of course, he was the illegitimate son of Rockefeller who died rather young of cancer, reportedly. I never knew until today when I got home from the vacation and learned from Fulford who David Rockefeller's grandson is, Mark Zuckerberg. And there's been a ransom put out for the arrest of Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. So it's quite an interesting world out there, folks. Quite interesting. Well, Black Lives Matter, of course, is financed by Soros and Rockefeller, but they wanted to disrupt the convention and this unusual heat wave they produced all over America. But the good guys said that they will not be allowed to disrupt it, and that has been the case. That's what he was writing up on early Monday. And I met a lot of blacks, Americans, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, New York State, Maryland, and none of the blacks that I met were very interested in this Black Lives Matter and weren't interested in going down to their marches and meetings. So it's very interesting to get a little feedback that way. Fulford said that Neil Kenyon has got some important updates later, and that, of course, the U.S. and the EU are bankrupt, and we have a pattern for how nations can go bankrupt and how it can be taken care of by what happened with the collapse of the Soviet Union a few years ago. They're wanting to, after this collapse of the EU and the U.S. structure, that we'll have a new structure in Europe that will include Russia. He says a German bank went under, and they were like $29 billion in debt, and that the Italian bank problems is small compared to the German banks, and the French banks have got a problem. 90% of their people hate their president, and the EU tried to reach a trade deal with Canada, and every country in the EU said, "Oh, no, Brussels can't tie us into something with Canada. We're each going to vote on it." So the EU leadership is completely falling apart. There was a huge UK report out that Tony Blair is definitely a war criminal, that the Turks have done a 180-degree turn, and they don't want to support ISIS anymore, and they've invited Russian troops to come into Turkey, and they want to join with Russia with India and hit their allies, and they're going to leave Saudi Arabia friendless, and this might put enough pressure on Saudi Arabia to join the winning side. So it's really something else. These things that are happening, and again, Fulford is talking about all of these things. And the Chinese have said, again, there's no interest in taking over Europe or the U.S. They hate the Khazarians just like the Vatican does, and that there's actually been a missile strike planned to hit the Rothschild bunker in Switzerland. They've been given a few days to take out their priceless artwork, and then the strike is to happen. That the Rothschilds should not be trusted, just like the Rockefellers and the Clintons. And when these names of these cabal leaders were released on July 11th, the Pentagon said, hey, you missed a lot of them, and gave them more names like Jay Rockefeller, Neil Bush, Marvin Bush, Richard Pearl, Michael Chertoff, and Mark Zuckerberg, Hank Paulson, and I was surprised Rudy Giuliani, the ex-mayor of New York, the U.S. Pentagon wants him arrested for his crimes. And recently there was a meeting in Arkansas with Clinton and Tony Blair and some others, and they were chased out of the meeting hall by a tornado. Act of God, act of galactics, who knows? Well, listen, I've been doing a lot of meditating and prayer work and protection work so I could drive myself down through New York City and all these things on this trip. And the trip, I found myself protected time and time again, and it's just wonderful. And I just encourage everyone to remember to meditate, remember to visualize the best. I'm putting the lid back on the candy shop treats, and if anyone would like to comment briefly on anything I said or add to it, please do.
Yeah, absolutely, Candy. There has been lots of this news has come forward up here north of the border as well, with the list that was put out with the gold card, so to speak, as reward for those on this list of people with the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and Mark Zuckerberg, and all of those coming forward. So, it's been quite interesting to see what's going on, most definitely. And we do know that there is change happening. We're not sure who these people are who are going to actually attempt to take on these people to collect their so-called rewards for gathering them up. And in essence, I'm not quite sure where they're going to bring them to. However, I'm sure the local authorities would love to have their day with them and bring them in and look after the details, so to speak.
Well, I find it interesting, Kenny, what you were saying, I find it very interesting because I recently picked up the book by our former Defense Minister Paul T. Hellyer. You might be aware that he is very much interested in extraterrestrial research, and he also recently wrote the book, The Money Mafia. Actually, it came out in 2014. And much of what you were describing in great detail is addressed in this book. So I could highly recommend for people if they want to have some background. It is in there. And obviously, for those who are not familiar, who Honorable Paul Hellyer is, he has been in Canadian politics since 1949. That's when he was first elected as the youngest cabinet minister in the then Louis Saint Laurent government. So this gentleman has seen things. He didn't just hear it on the internet, because when he was in government, there was no such thing as internet. He speaks about what he has learned and experienced, and I was privileged not too long ago to hear him also speak on the matters of how our world has been literally hijacked by a select few, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, and of course the Bilderbergers. And so I highly recommend this. People ought to pick this up, The Money Mafia by Paul Hellyer.
Okay, folks, The Money Mafia, written by a leading Canadian politician. Well, that sounds
yes,
important.
He's retired. He's in his 80s, so the gentleman brings a lot of life experience and the political experience as well, because as a former Minister of Defense, he held one of the highest positions in Canadian government.
Right.
So when a capacity of that standing speaks to such subject matters, I value that. Like this is not just hearsay, this is not just some conspiracy, this is fact. And I'm certain Paul would have had better things to do with his retirement than sit around and write a 300-page book, So I highly recommend it. It makes for fascinating read, and it is laden with facts. And you talked about there are other names that people actually maybe want to consider. They are all in here. It is properly researched. There's a lot of footnotes. There are a lot of detail, and it's a kind of a historical document. Our history books will probably not have as much history in it as this book has.
Well, great. That's great information, and of course, my listeners, my two guest speakers, that was Hidegarde from the Toronto area and Mark Thorson speaking. That is good feedback, and
for me.
Yes, go ahead.
When you think of it, because my experience, I'm not sure if people had listened to us before, but just to digress a little there, I have had 30 years of telepathic communication from an Andromedan source. And 30 years ago, or 25 years back, I really doubted what I was writing in my journal book. I found it so hard to believe that the food I was buying and giving my children could potentially be harmful. I didn't want to believe that people mess with weather and all sorts of things, And to now, 25 years later, seeing that now it's all over the media, many people, we spoke earlier before we came on live, how it happens that you have a thought or you learn something or you journal something and then you run into somebody who you never met before and they're verifying what you're saying. And I find that is happening now to me more and more. And I would like our listeners here to consider all these coincidences are there to really bring us up to speed what's really going on our planet, and not to dismiss it as, oh, I'm just making this up. Nobody is making things up other than those that had planned to control the mass consciousness for the last 70 years, I'd say.
Absolutely. Well, and the audience for the Candy Shop Show are very well informed at all levels about the current events and the disclosure that is coming, disclosing what the cabal has been doing, both the incarnated beings that were named on these cards, as well as the unseen cabal members off planet. We had a very interesting full moon this week, and we can just imagine what is happening on the moon bases with the Russian base, the China base, the bases up there from America and from other galactic civilizations, and how they've all had a gentleman agreement not to interfere with each other's up there to partition things off, and of course Christopher Stephen Jacobs on here has has remarked that he is bilocated to as many as 17 levels below the surface of the moon at the U.S. Base. And so it was interesting to me tonight at the Republican convention. We had they spotlighted a lot of American women, and one of them was the first woman to head an astronaut team that went off planet, and she spoke very, very well. She talked about the things that the public knows, that we landed on the moon in 1969, and she spoke about how things had been our astronaut program had basically been shut down in 2011, and other things. Of course, she's talking about the things that the public knows about. She's not talking about what our listeners know, that there is certainly bases on American bases where American spacecraft go off planet. But it was interesting to me, the applause that she got, that we should do more space exploration. And to me, that was just like a little bit of an opening that can be referred to later down the road by leaders that might want to reveal more about the secret spaceship programs that various countries are engaged in here. Well, listen, this is great. We just want to call in our galactic friends, and we're so glad to have those representing the Arcturians return for the 5th show. And we just invoke the law of one to dedicate this another edition of the Candy Shop Show to working with the galactics that want to help humanity. And Mark, what would you like to start off with this evening?
Well, actually, what I'd like to bring forward is just some different energies that are coming to Earth at this time to assist in the rise of the consciousness and in assisting in the bringing together of the frequencies between human beings and the elementals and all the planet and the crystalline structures and the plant life here. Because, in essence, as with the law of one, we are all interconnected, and we have, so to speak, fallen from grace, fallen down from the 5th dimension to the 3rd dimension, losing this capacity, losing this ability to be in tune with our brothers and sisters, the animals and the plant kingdom here on Mother Earth. And so there's been some very interesting energies coming forward leading up to this full moon coming to the Mother. And I don't know what you know of or understand of the different rays of light coming to Earth, like the blue frequency, the blue light, the green light, the red light, the yellow light. Because Ptah frequency, I don't know if you're aware or not, is the blue light, bringing the blue crystalline energies to Earth from the galactic central sun. And of course, there's other entities and beings who are also doing their part in bringing these frequencies down to Earth as a rainbow of colors to merge together so that this does raise the consciousness of human beings so that we actually do connect on a higher level, bringing us closer to this telepathy, bringing us closer to vertical time, where we remember all our past lifetimes. And I feel this is coming on very quickly because I've been speaking with some people here just the past couple of weeks who are starting to remember different lifetimes and who are also starting to remember their language from their own planet, which has been coming forward as well in the circles that I've been moving around in. I don't know if you've been hearing anything about this. Oh,
yes, this is very interesting, And but I like your way of presenting this information about the blue light frequencies coming down to Earth to bless us.
Yeah, indeed. So I'll share a little bit more of that because it was actually just a few days ago where I was led to a site, a very sacred site in central Ontario with these two ladies. And this one lady has been the keeper and caretaker of this site for a long time. She too is a spiritual energy healer and is in commune with the mother and with natives and so on. And we went to this property just to visit it. We weren't sure what was going to unfold or what was going to happen. And when we got there, one of the ladies, I won't say their names at this point in time, however, very connected to the earth and to other dimensions. She's a very multidimensional person. She could actually see the natives on the different levels and frequencies there at this site, sitting around doing ceremony and around campfires and set up. And the other thing she could see, too, which was very prevalent, was Sasquatch, the giant, mighty Sasquatch. And it was...
Yes, I mean, we have a Sasquatch quite a bit here, and especially on my own land. And I might interject that I got the message that Sasquatch appreciates being appreciated and likes little trinkets and gifts. And so sure enough, my grandson and I fashioned a little colorful trinket, and we hung it in the tree, and we offered it to Sasquatch friend, who kind of oversees the gnomes and the elementals here on my little farm. And it took about 3 weeks, but it dematerialized and went into the Sasquatch world. So we were pretty excited about that. Well, tell us more about these rituals that your friend saw.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyways, so what it was that we connected with these spirits and these energies of these beings, and they spoke to us and told us that this land where we came to was where they held the first ceremonies, shall we say, north of the Great Lakes. This is the land of the most southern part of the Canadian Shield, the rock, Canadian rock, and it was here where they gathered. They came from afar, from the east and from the west to winter, because the winters were not so harsh or severe there, and they could survive, and they were able to gather food and hunt and fish and all that in order to continue their life, and then in the springtime move back to their areas where they resided in and to carry on life in that way. However, what came forward was we were called by the Sasquatch, we were called by the natives, and then also came forward were the Galactics. The Andromedans came, the Arcturians came, the Syrians came in great numbers to watch as we carried forward. And again, it was not our intention to do a ceremony or a ritual. It just happened spontaneously in that moment because everybody was there. Everybody was showing up. And so, again, we joined a triad, the three of us, and I released the codes. I spoke the codes of light to trigger the event. And then one of the ladies spoke and said that we are being guided to, each one of us has a tone, kind of like the singing bowls, right? All these different tones. And so we were to just allow the tone to come out and to sing it harmoniously together. And while we were doing that, this portal was opening up. And we had to switch tones a couple different times. And it opened up from the mother all the way to the galactic central sun. And then I was guided to release more codes. And as I was releasing the codes, this blue light was coming down through this portal into the mother with us as the shall we say, instruments, being the Creator working through us to bring this energy, this blue light, this frequency into the earth, into Sophia. And it was
wonderful.
very
wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mother Sophia or Gaia. Great.
So this blue light, this blue energy, what it is here for is actually in the activation and assistance of connecting us more and more into this realm of the law of one, where we're all connected and we're feeling each other and we're being here together in spirit, in union, in unity consciousness. And so as this light has been brought forward now, I know there's other energies and frequencies to arrive on Earth through the Mother. I'm not aware at this point in time how and when. However, I do know that it is there, and this too shall occur eventually. So very, very, yeah.
Yes, and well, can we hear some of the tones that you learned about or used at the ceremony?
Yeah. It was a very
some of it there for us.
Okay, just bear with me here. Hidegarde was not one of them there. No, there was two other people I was with, and interestingly enough, one of them I met at this alien conference in Brantford a month ago, and it was her mentor who also came along. So just bear with me here, and I'm just going to tune into that tone and see if I can duplicate it. And my tone was the deeper tones of the three. The two ladies had higher tones, and together the culmination of all three is what activated this portal to open up. And very interesting indeed as that occurred. The energies were very strong, and at the end it took us to our knees. We were all bent over and drained, shall we say, from this experience.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And what date was this that you did this ceremony?
That was on Sunday, so whatever day that was just a couple days ago.
So that was on the 17th.
Yes.
And what was yesterday? Was yesterday the full moon? Yesterday was full moon, right?
Yeah, it happened just before the full moon.
Just
Indeed.
before the full moon. I find it very interesting, Mark, what you were saying, that there was the three of you, because it appears whenever there is something significant to happen, there's always 3 points to it. There's 3 people or 3 energies, or there's always the
triad, yeah.
The triad is always a part of it, and I find that very fascinating. Also, the blue. Isn't that the color of Archangel Michael anyway, the dissolver of all obstacles? Doesn't he come generally in a blue color?
Archangel Michael does, also Ptah does. Ptah is known as the blue being, and this is why I carry in the Ptah frequency, was activating this whole ceremony, this whole ritual, this whole event in this time. And, of course, everything happens in divine order, so it according to the creation and the divine plan, is timely, very timely with what's going on.
I admire how you trust your intuition to go. You get these insights and then you go for it. This is really amazing. I find that very, very fascinating indeed.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Well, is it time to ask some galactics to speak through Hidegarde or yourself at this time?
Well, actually, you know what? You have a very interesting point. Perhaps if we can tap in with Luamar and see if he has a perspective on these different frequencies and lights coming to the Earth, it would be very interesting. Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Hidegarde?
Okay.
All right. Tutrono o tikite na trena e kietana tutrono o tukuta na trena e kinini de trino o tuturata na kitieta.
It's with great honor and privilege for me to address you this evening. This is Luamar. I have been speaking through this vehicle, Hidegarde van Bothes, for the last 25 years or so. And as she was walking into your world from 7th dimension into the 3D. And we want you to know that what she experienced, everybody in a way experiences, because whether you're walking or not, the energies of cosmos perpetually impact the human DNA and hit your cellular level. And what will happen then, in due time, according to the unique soul essences process and soul plan, events happen, people are put together, books fall off shelves, you connect with those who you are to connect with and to fulfill a task as earlier described by Ta. And you will find that your world is becoming increasingly more wondrous. And you will be more and more humbled and awed by the events that will seemingly so effortlessly evolving in front of your eyes. And there might be an aspect with respect to light, in different color light. Blue, of course, for us from Andromeda, blue also represents the Arcturian healing ships, the healing ability to transcend and transform for all humans who are water-based. You have lots of your water. If water is in your physicality, you are drawn to water, especially those who are in the signs that have to do with water and air. So you will be naturally more drawn to the blue color. And yes, indeed, also the significance of the blue color, of course, is it is to bring us up to a next level in the rainbow. We are going from the outside in. So the blue, the green, the purple, the pink, the gold, all the way into the white. And then from the white out, you are a rainbow and a spectrum of colors. And therefore, the blue is just another indication that the road inward is being prepared. And then you, so to speak, will come fully alive from the inside out, each and every one of you. And as you raise an awareness and collective consciousness and goes to the direction of unity, all of you will experience a massive transformation on your planet. And may we permit it to say that all that which keeps you upset and scared and fearful, these are just the growing pains of the remnants of the old. It's kind of like the birthing pains when a woman on your planet is giving birth. There are waves of contractions that for the moment feel uncomfortable, yet the mother generally breathes through them, provided she has the right support. And what will happen then, as soon as the baby is out, all of these pains are forgotten. So allow whatever is happening in your life to just happen. Don't resist it. Let it flow through you. Breathe in the blue light. Breathe in whatever color it is that you feel most comfortable with at this point in time. And do know that you are supported. Your soul essence had made the plan. You have your off-planet and on-planet invisible support teams. Each human being does have that. And you can engage them by asking them for guidance. and then turn inward to listen. And whenever you ask the question, the answers will come forward. So you are a lot more powerful than you might have considered yourself to be, and this is true for the vehicle, who at this point still doesn't believe that she is doing what she is doing, and therefore we are very grateful for you, Candy, also to give her the opportunity to address your audience all over your wonderful nation as well. Shila nina ka ki patukatana mana ikasi kila du tina mananu. Blessed peace, love, joy to you all.
Wonderful, and thank you so much for coming and for honoring us with those inspiring words of encouragement. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it just comes out of me. You know, I never know really what it is that's going to come. And again, it happens because Mark connected with me and told me he could do something to help me open up to the next level, and I didn't know what the next level was. And then when we connected, as mentioned to you before, in different locations, we connected with Louis Marr on the little commuter support ship he is in charge of, keeping 250 walk-ins from Andromeda supported. Then Mark came up and showed to me that he actually could see what I saw. And we were told that at some point, potentially, we would actually go onto those ships with our 3D physical bodies as well. So not sure what's going to happen. It's exciting, very exciting. So thank you, Mark, for tapping into new abilities there for me and helping me open the parts of my physicalness to be able to also speak in these codes. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. You're quite welcome. And that's the other interesting thing, too, that has been coming forward since the Bata frequency has awakened within my DNA, Candy, is I've been working with people, and even some of them just listening to me on some of the shows when I release codes have commented back in emails saying that all of a sudden they start mumbling these different words. They don't know what they're saying, and they're asking for verification if they're speaking language from their own planet as well. And so I've been working with these people, and I've actually been able to, shall we say, with my codes and intentions to tweak them and work with their pineal and their pituitary gland and the frequencies within them to tap into their own home language. And you can only imagine the surprise and the desire of people wanting to do that.
Yes. Well, that's great feedback. I had Boris Gonzalez Starseed as my guest speaker last week, and he said that the Galactics had been revealing themselves to him and teaching him things for years, and now he's supposed to start revealing what he's been learning, and he's been posting on Facebook the pictures of the scout ships as they appear over the Bronx near where he lives and works. And so I just, he said they told him there would be 3 stages to this disclosure, and that, this first stage he's supposed to be revealing this information that I just mentioned, and that many of us are being taken voluntarily, when we sleep in our astral bodies. Many of us advanced light workers to the ships to get familiar with the routines of theirs, and that we're like ambassadors from Earth, and that we will be those that will greet the fellow humans that when there is a huge visitation to the ships, and that this will continue for the first and second stage, and of disclosure, and that we all should keep our eyes on Hillary, and that Hillary would be taken down from her position before September is over. And then after that, the second stage will start, and then in 2017, the third stage, where there's more disclosure about our galactic brothers and sisters. And I wondered if Ptah or the others that we're communicating through you two would like to say anything along these lines about the three stages, and say anything about current events and when and more about the ambassadors getting things ready on the spaceships.
Okay, absolutely. I just want to bring forward because just recently Hidegarde and I we connect quite frequently, and we go and check in with Lumar on the craft, and just to get different perspectives from the Andromedan's point of view. And one of the things that he did say to us in the earlier days was that eventually, as you said, they're going to start bringing people on board the ship in their sleep and working with them and assisting them, getting them ready for assisting humanity down here, for getting ready to teach the masses and to give them direction, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be waking up and are going to be lost and not really understanding what's happening because they've been veiled for so long. So most definitely this is going to happen. And the second thing too was which Lumar had mentioned, and Hidegarde, you can confirm this, was he said that eventually they're going to start bringing people on board the ship in their 3D dimensional bodies as well. And Hidegarde and I were also told that this fall will probably be brought on board the craft for the first time. So very exciting, definitely, with these stages. Forward.
Well, I concur with what Mark's saying there. What I've been told is that humanity has been interacting with benevolent as well as not so kind ET, different dimensional brothers and sisters for as long as the planet exists. And our geniuses, if you so will, or the people who entered the history books as geniuses, many of them were overshadowed by intelligence from a different realm, from a different dimension. So our sciences, the way we have them now on this planet, the 3D kind of science, is really not what is helpful in the years to come. So everything that will help humanity forward has to go beyond the paradigm of science that we've been habituated to. And when you look back in history, you see the people who advanced the consciousness of society the most, they initially had to go against what was considered the norm. Whether Galileo said the earth is round rather than flat, and even though today people argue whether the earth is round or flat, but people believe they could fly. Well, now nobody argues that we can fly. Everybody has been traveling in an airplane before, So what we have, this concept of the ET comes and takes us over, that is not happening because our friends, let's call them the kind ETs, they are here already. They are among us for the longest time. There's many human beings that most of the time, I believe, have already some sort of a knowing about what's to happen. They may not be fully conscious of what's going on. I know I am not fully activated either. I don't have the answers. All I can say is what I've been told and what I've experienced personally. And I have personally experienced being on different ships in different places. And sometimes it happened just sitting at a shopping mall eatery, eating something, and I'm done with my meal. I'm just closing my eyes for a minute or so, just relaxing for a minute before I go on to the next thing. And boom, suddenly something happens. And I think, what just happened? Where was I? But I can't get the pieces together anymore. You know, I don't know what happened. And I think that is going to happen more often to more people. And then disclosure, quote unquote, comes by many people from different walks in life and different parts of the planet will come forward and voice their ideas and share their experiences. And I think that is maybe what is called the soft disclosure. I'm not looking for government officials or anybody else to come and say, oh, guess what? You know, we told you a lie for the last, at least since 1940s, the Roswell incident. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what will happen is the individual human consciousness is going to be brought up to speed so much that when the politicians finally catch on or not is totally irrelevant.
Absolutely, yes. Now I want to clarify. Were you saying that you and Mark expect to physically in the 3D go into the spaceships this fall, or were you saying that you two and lots of humans will be going in third dimension into the ships?
Well, we had a gathering. When I first, I hadn't met Mark yet, and he's 3 hours north of Toronto, when we spoke on the phone. And then Mark says, well, and I can speak Andromedan, and I would like you to introduce me to Louis Marr. That is all very interesting. And I didn't know him, and I said, well, I don't know. I've never really taken anybody along for the trip. You know, I haven't even spoken about this to many people. And so as I then spoke to Louis Marr, and I said, here's this gentleman in physical form. He is not physically in the same space that I am in. He wants to connect with you and speak to you, and he apparently speaks an Andromedan code language of sorts. And then what happened was Mark spoke to Louis Marr, and I could hear Louis Marr saying, do not strain your brain. You are not ready to hear what we are saying yet. And so they were talking in this language that I just spoke before Louis Marr came in. And I couldn't understand it at this point. And then the second time, so Louis Marr then said, yeah, Mark can help me activate something so I can actually talk these codes, speak these codes too. And then we went on the ship the second time together. We made a different appointment. We went up together. And Mark then was able to describe what he had seen. I'm sitting in Toronto. He sits up in Huntsville. And we didn't go there with our physical bodies. And nonetheless, he was able to describe the room that we were in that I saw. And that blew me away. I'm thinking, oh, my God, who is this person, you know? And then we had another session afterwards, which was about 2.5 hours long, and I have a recording on it, and I made a drawing of who was in the room. There were a variety of different people in the room, and they were explaining to Mark and I how we had to bring up our energy. We had to get more rid of our toxins. We need to detox our body more. We have to really work on getting ourselves more into that state of love and unconditional love and acceptance, and work more on our little fear and left brain negativity and stuff. And then I said there would be a time when we would be given an opportunity if we so desire, not because they told us we have to, but if we were desiring to do that, we could come there with our physical body. And they explained in great length how this would happen, much like when you are going into a submarine where there is an opening towards the ocean floor that is closed. And how do you call this, Mark? Kind of a valve or kind of a...
Yeah, decompression chamber.
A decompression chamber of sorts, right? You go into open the door, you go into the space, it's filled up with energy, it's adjusting to the physical needs of the person that's supposed to be brought onto the ship somehow. That's at least the picture they gave me. And then we are going to go through some decontamination processes, and they had people there that were going to support us with either nutrition or their kind of medicine in case something was necessary. There was about 7 or 8 people that were sitting around the table explaining to us how all of this potentially could work. And that was just, for me, not only had I never met Mark before, but that was also the very first time ever since my children were little, like 2005. Wait a minute. This was 1993 when I first communicated with the Andromedans, and I quickly learned not to talk about it because people in my circles in those days, it didn't take lightly to me talking about these things. I was called crazy very quickly. And so when Mark showed up on the scene and a lot of what I was telling him started to make sense to him, and then I was kind of thinking I can laugh him out of the way because who is he thinking that he can come with me on this spaceship? I don't even know my way around it, and he wants to tag along? What kind of a guy is this? But hey, he earned my respect rather quickly once the whole session was over, and then he described the room the way you would describe, a conference room the 3 of us are sitting in, for instance.
Well, absolutely, and this is called, bilocating. Mark is a fantastic bilocator, as are you, because you haven't taken your physical body there yet. You've taken, you've bilocated.
Yeah.
And so it's very much just like being there, but you can be here as well as there at the same time. And it's great that there are more and more skilled psychics that are able to do this. So that is.
There are apparently millions of people who can do that. Millions of people all over the world. This is why I am now feeling much more comfortable or talk about it, because this is not unusual. Nobody can stop consciousness from waking up, so to speak. It's not that I'm something special or Mark is something special. We're all unique in our own way. But I think from what Louis Ma has been telling me is that humanity has that ability. And the only thing it takes is to look within and ask the questions. And then by the questions we ask, the thoughts we think about, the information comes. Thought travels quicker and faster than the speed of light.
Yes.
We sometimes forget that.
And we do need to meditate, ask the question, and then listen for the answer.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, too, because the thought is so fast, in one moment, Hidegarde and I are speaking on the phone, myself in Huntsville, her in Toronto, and the next moment we're on this craft outside of the atmosphere in just a split second, instantly, so to speak. Or when I choose to bilocate to other places like Arcturus or other planets, it's just instantly, or within Shambhala or inner Earth. It's instant. I'm there just bilocating, and so that's just what goes on, absolutely. I just wanted to add, which was very interesting when we were having this conference on the spacecraft with Louis-Mar and the others, there was actually entities came forward from the Pleiadian star system as well, and there was also, and I was kind of awed by that. There was a lady there who was one of my guides, and she said that she was also the guide for Isis. So the guide for Ptah and the guide for Isis and other beings there. And then, of course, there was a teleportation officer who was there, who was explaining how we would be teleported on board the craft. And he told us to imagine our physicality as we are now, and then having it explode apart like a whole bunch of Lego blocks with air spaces in between them, and then coming back together. Because he explained that's what it's going to be like when we bring you up to the craft, is your whole essence, your 3D physicality is going to explode apart with the device that they use, and then it's going to be brought back together when we're on board the craft in this decompression chamber, so to speak, whatever chamber they call it, and then bring us with the proper technology that they have so that we can breathe and be there. And I can't recall whether or not they mentioned that we may have to put on a suit of some sort when we're there too, just because of the different dimensional atmosphere, which again is all new to me, not having done that before. So, however, I'm excited about doing it. I certainly want to do this and go to the craft with Hidegarde, most definitely.
Well, you see, what's really weird, though, this is what I found so fascinating, that apparently, and Mark, you told me that, because I need to listen to recording, there was something about Humpty Dumpty go on the wall, or fall off the wall, or how was it? He said something about, it's like the children's song, Humpty Dumpty will be put back together. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and then Humpty Dumpty is going to be put back together again. So, and this was the visual that was given, that we somehow dematerialize, and then they have the ability to put the body back together, and that would all happen in this particular space in between worlds, so to speak. Now, I've been looking at Jose Arguelles' book, Manifesto of the Noosphere again, and of course, Jose says in there that everything exists as one. So if we are really one with all these dimensions, different dimensions, intelligence of different worlds and realms, then there is really no separation. So we are them, they are us, and we can be in touch and can become conscious of them as fast as we allow ourselves to open ourselves to that possibility.
Yes. And we've seen this kind of teleporting on all the Star Trek shows, and we've seen shows where things didn't go exactly as planned, but how successful that this amazing technology can be. Many of us on the Diamond Network, and by the way, this is show number 466. If anybody wants to replay this or have their friends listen to it, this is show number 466 on the replay. But we're part of the Anastasia movement, and when Anastasia helped Vladimir Magritte go to another planet, and when he got back, he said, "Well, how come we didn't need a space suit?" And she said, "Well, I could see in the future and could see how long we were going to be there, how much need we had for breathing air, and so when I teleported us into their spaceship, I just took the air in around us, enough air with us that we could breathe comfortably while we were on the spaceship. So we didn't need a suit. She just took their bodies and the air in the teleportation procedure." So there's lots of ways that this can take place, I understand.
Well, maybe you've heard of the human body being plasma. The human physicality is actually a plasma field. We take the solid food, we eat it, it gets goes through the burning chamber, the stomach is turned into a plasma, and then the nutrients go hopefully into the system and build the body up. But apparently only 20% of the energy we need we get of our food. 80% is coming through the cosmos anyway, our connection to cosmos. So from what Louis Ma has been saying, there is technology that in due time, as we learn and are willing to learn, and learning not to control and dominate, but really humbly learning to help ourselves and be of service to our fellow man, there is technology lessons coming down the pipeline for people who are willing to learn that we at this point cannot comprehend. I'm always asking, why don't you tell me, tell me more. And he's always saying, it's no point, because the information I can tell you, you need to incorporate into your daily life, bring it into the world, and then you can do the next thing. Like for the first 20 years or so, most of what I was given had to do with the rebuilding of my body. Of course, the body wasn't in the greatest shape during my early 30s. So it's a slow process, and yet it's very fast at the same time, because now that the energies are so powerful, and Mark was just describing earlier what had happened when the three of them did their ceremony, I have a sense that anybody willing now also to work on themselves, they're willing to find out who they really are, what it is that they're most passionate about, it will go with lightning speed. I can't wait to see what happens. We were told in the fall, maybe winter, depending on how we would evolve, we could possibly go and visit the spaceship. Now, then something really interesting happened. I had in my room, one of my rooms here had a light. The light was as if you have a shower in a corner and it has a glass cabinet around it. And sometimes showers have then the light in the center. However, if you have an electrical light switch, you switch on a light in a dark room, it tends to spread across the room. It is not confined to 1 meter by 1 meter square, like an elevator shaft type of thing. So one day, I saw this light in my room, and it wouldn't light up the rest of the room. It was this bright something, the light source of which I couldn't figure out where it came from. Didn't come from underneath the door, didn't come through the ceiling. I couldn't see the source of light. And I was so in awe of this light. I'm just, wow, this is so cool. I was so excited about it that I thought, whoa, I want to compare it to artificial light. And I was kind of reaching for a flashlight to compare the artificial light with this. But the split second I looked for the flashlight, the light disappeared. And then I thought, oh my God, maybe that's the beginning, right? Maybe that's them saying, yeah, if you're ready, step on in. I don't know.
It's interesting you say that, Hidegarde. Just what's coming forward to me is this fact about bringing forward this blue light to the earth. It's for humankind to tap into now, and so I'm just saying this, Candy, because what might be a good thing for the listeners to do is in their meditations. What I like to do when I do meditations with the people I work with is I guide them to go with their mind into their heart and to get connected to the heart, because the heart is the access to all that is. This is where we're all connected with Ra, the law of one, is through our heart. All timelines, all dimensions, all parallel worlds And so from there, then, is just to imagine through your feet, roots going down into the earth, and then breathing in this beautiful energy from the mother, this white light, love, and affinity. However, also to bring in the blue light, merging it with the white light, love, and affinity from the mother, drawing it up through your feet, into your body, swirling around your heart, and then from there continuing up through the top of your head, and see this tube of light going up to the sun, gathering the golden energy from the sun, from the Father, and bringing it down through your crown chakra into your heart, and melding it with this light from the Mother Earth and this blue energy, which has now been infused into the Mother, and then seeing the mix all the way through and continuing down to the core of the Mother. And so just breathing this beautiful white light, this blue light, this golden light, and merging them all together in your heart, and just allowing that to expand and awaken your DNA, and see what happens. See how that opens you up. See how that opens the audience up and the people who attempt to do this meditation, because that's what it's there for, is to tap into that frequency which is now embedded into the Mother. So I just wanted to share that, because I was just getting that message loud and clear when Hidegarde was talking.
Yes, and I did that style of Merkaba meditation as you were leading us in it, and I hope most of our audience did or will try. And so Mark Sorensen is sharing this evening that when we do our Merkaba meditations, visualize the blue light and the golden light together and through our heart chakra. Wonderful.
And I would also like to bring in Candy Patel wants to speak for those out there as well, bringing in some codes just to meld in, shall I say, to solidify this for those listeners out there who are going to do this and take this on. And, of course, just putting the frequency out into the consciousness of the planet, the Mother, and humanity at the same time. So if I may.
Yes, Patel, welcome. Welcome to our program.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed. So I would like to express these words of frequency so that they may be infused and awaken the DNA within the listeners, the audience, and even the non-listeners as the waves permeate through the sound, through the airwaves on this planet, this beautiful Gaia, through to the different matrices and veils. And so in so speaking and so saying, I shall begin. Du tirana ta tere e kiachana da triono o tu kuhutatana ta e kini ta to yono utura duracha ta tere e kiati didaktro yono o tu kuhuntataete. Translation: allow the frequencies of the love, the light, the spirit coming through you. Feel them rising up through your body from below you, bringing forward this connection to the Mother, bringing forward this connection to the Father, bringing forward the connection through your heart to the Creator. Allow these frequencies to awaken within your DNA, within your body structure. Allow them to bring you forward and to integrate your knowingness with the knowingness of all that is. It is within these words and frequencies that I speak that this shall be so. Tutru no tiki te triana da tiro no tukuhutu chi ti te trina tina dachtro no tukuhuta kuta hayateni I ti trana a tekeyo tach triokto no chukuhieta neia dai ta triono kunta haite ikiata. And as these energies permeate through your body, these frequencies, these tones, as they activate the very essence within you, within your DNA, bringing you forward to a greater awakening, bringing you forward to the ascending of frequencies within your body structure, that which you have agreed to on your entrance into this earth plane. Know that you are a being of light. We are all connected. We are all connected as one. take this with you, bring it forward. Forever you walk and forever you shall be and forever you shall put your footprint. Shall these energies be transmuted and put out through your body, through your aura, through your energy fields, and others around you will also begin to awaken. So it is. Namaste. So indeed, very powerful words from Bata, just knowing that there are things moving, energies, frequencies, awakenings, DNA activations continuously happening all the time. And again, we've just experienced it here tonight. So I thank you for that opportunity. Bata thanks you for that opportunity as well to assist mankind, humanity.
Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. Well, I Candy, have a question of Bata or Louis-Mer. I think they might be aware of the prayer work that I've done for many places in our galaxy on these shows in the last year, and places in the USA. And then I was events took place so that I could actually physically go and do these cleansing rituals. And I was wondering if Bata might have a remark about the results of my physically going and doing these rituals, most recently in the U.S. Congress, the U.S. Senate, at the United Nations, and at the site of the Twin Towers disaster in New York City, and at the Statue of Liberty. Would he like to comment on the effect of my rituals in the past 2 weeks?
Absolutely. It is very important to understand that the intention which you bring forward through you and through your heart love frequency within your heart center core of the body yourself, bringing your higher essence, soul, atom spark with you, and the intention of assisting those people, those places, those energies where you have visited is very important. It is very, indeed, beneficial. And, of course, what you are doing is you are bringing forward this through your vessel, through your body, and embedding it into the earth. As the energies flow within the earth, it is interconnected within the plant life, the animal life, and, of course, those who walk in the areas are also feeling it and being affected, assisting in rising their frequencies. So it is of great importance and great acknowledgement that I say to you, indeed, what you have been doing has been very helpful, and indeed what you have been doing is a part of the divine plan, and indeed it is very, very gracious that you take this journey and that you are indeed completing your mission. Yes, it is not always the easiest thing to do with such turmoil going on in the country of residence. However, the bravery, the courage, the strength, and the so-called love frequency, willpower, and desire to serve those, to serve humanity is greatly acknowledged. And for that, thank you and bless you for the journey and the task you've taken upon yourself to do this journey which you have just completed. I am thankful, I am grateful. Much love, blessings, Bata.
Oh, thank you. That is just great to be acknowledged that way, and it was just really the galactics. I felt strongly were with me, that the doors opened when it is all kind of amazing how everything fell into place, so that I that I could do these important rituals, and I was particularly concerned about the strange design of the Freedom Tower in New York, and part of my ritual was obviously they opened up a portal. Sometimes the portals can be for good and sometimes for bad, and I asked in my ritual that if this is a portal for bad, that it be closed, and the others that were there at the site at the Twin Towers with me, they were very respectful when they noticed that I was conducting this ritual, and so that was it felt real important to be able to do.
Indeed, yes, you're guided, you're watched,
Candy?
you're directed. It's all beautiful.
Hi, Candy. How are you two?
Oh, hi, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. You know, you planned your trip, and anyway, I'm going to tell the whole story on the Monday show when I come back. But you planned your trip, and the trip I planned got unplanned, and I ended up going to the fair. Now, I want to ask one question to these guys. Okay, I just call it. It was just wonderful. I didn't plan anything. I had fun, but everything I did was a test and a lesson, especially some fear. But I'll tell that on Monday. But guess what? I didn't plan this at the fair. I ended up being in a car, a black car with an 8, and 10 other males in the black car. They're all numbered. But I know something happened. I was in a black car, 8, the number 3, and the number 14, which is 4 and 1 is 5. So 5, the number 3, and number 8. And guess what? This woman, this grandma, won the demolition derby. So what I'm bringing forth is because of energies. I want to ask you guys this. I was the 8. The 4 got the 4, which is 5, which is Grace, and then 3. So the 8 ended up smashing the 3, and the 4, the 14 to 3. The last 3 cars left. The 14, the 3, and the 8, and the 14 is the 5. We're all smashed together. And somehow I know I smashed some energies together for something. I don't know. Any clues, you guys? It was pretty fun. But I was scared a little bit. But then I decided, I called in all our galactic friends and the expert drivers. And the first smash I did, I went out there roaring. First smash I did, I said, this is fun. I just kept on going. But anyway, the numbers I smashed together is some kind of energy we put from that fair into the earth. What do you guys think? Am I off?
Well, 8 is a number of completion, right?
Huh?
Could it be that you had to complete something? It sounded like there's a big chaos soup. You stirred it up, and then the number 8 created a whole again out of the fragmentations that fell by the wayside.
And as I did it for myself, I did it for everybody because we're all one.
Absolutely. To me, it comes up, it's the sign of completion. The cycle is ended, which I find is so timely right now, because it feels to me that this fear cycle where humanity has been stuck in the patterns, the mind control of fear, the process of judgment, guilt, shame, blame, this whole thing of, we are being separate and we are so small and we don't make a difference. That is all being blown up, and we are coming into if you lie the 8 down, like what comes down for me is infinity sign, yes? The lying down 8. And the feminine, I was the only gal in the race, and I was much older than all of them, most of them. There was a 67-year-old man, but you can't see who, and they didn't favor me because you can't see the numbers when you're driving around or who's driving what. We didn't even know each other. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was like you were practicing your joy and bringing out the joy, which the Galactics and Anastasia was always sharing here. Produce joy and its joyous feelings in our aura.
That's right. When you're in your highest excitement, when you're in your highest excitement, then you are doing what you're on the planet for.
It wasn't even, I'm going to go do the work and bring joy. It was like, I decided for myself, I'm going to go have fun. What's around here close? Because my car's not, circumstances. And it was so happened to be the fair. And I'll share one more thing. There was lessons for me in the whole world. It was so exciting. I rode the rides one day. I got a $25 pass, and I rode the big rides, and I found out, there's that people are so separated, because I was the only one, old lady kind of, compared to the ones at the fair. I walked around and found the line of kids so I could ride with them or whatever, because most rides take two. And anyway, I ended up with a black teenage boy, and his dad wasn't riding, and his dad was white. And I just ended up tagging along. They felt odd at first. I can talk to anybody. They felt odd at first. A stranger tagging along, but it helped them because he couldn't ride on rides if there was two. But anyway, we went in a spaceship. The first ride was a spaceship with a Spanish guy, and it's a great spaceship. And you go in, and he's the pilot from inside, the Spanish guy. And you stand against the wall. It goes really fast, like submarine pressure. And your whole insides and your body stick to the wall, and then the floor drops. And it does it a couple times. But I thought of that, and when you guys were talking about, how it feels like when you're transport or whatever. And it was just really surreal. But I'll share more. But you guys talked about the energies coming in, and there's energies being stirred up. They're already here that are new, but they're being stirred up kind of like with the demolition derby. Isn't that funny?
I think what you're saying is brilliant. It's totally brilliant. We are not to contemplate, I have to go and do a vision. We are just doing it because it feels good, and in that, things come together. Life is supposed to be hard, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just really funny.
Yes,
Thank you, guys. Yes. I enjoyed the show, you two, and Candy.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. And Elizabeth's show will be at the same number Monday night. It's starting an hour earlier, and then we have a show tomorrow night starting an hour earlier at this number. Well, listen, we need to be wrapping this up pretty soon. Although we have some special sharings after the recording stops, and so stay tuned. And folks, if you want to get in on everything that the Diamond Network is doing, call in live. Don't wait for the YouTube shows to show up. Okay, Mark, what would you or Patal like to do as we're closing?
I just would like to give a great and wonderful thank you to the listeners, and just a blessing, perhaps in the light language, just quickly. Trunu tuhun tahayake titina to tirono utukaha chakita chakea tanak no utuku pata. Go forward in your highest frequency. Bring your newfound blue light and love with you. Be one, be kind, be love. Blessings to all of you. Pata.
That says it all. Thank you, Pata and Hidegarde and Mark and everyone. Thank you so much.
Are you looking for healing or a change in your life to help you enjoy it more fully? You might benefit from a galactic energy reading and clearing from Chris Jacobs. Chris will work with you on a soul level to clear unseen negative influences, implants, programs, contracts, and energetic blocks. Chris Jacobs is a gifted energy healer. Contact him today at ChristopherStephenJacobs@gmail.com.